Pain isn't weakness, it's transformation. When someone walks out of your life, especially the one you trusted the most, the first feeling that hits is not anger, but a deep, suffocating ache that seems to settle in every corner of your being. You wake up to emptiness, to the absence of a voice you thought would never fade, to the silence that replaces laughter and promises. It feels unbearable at first, as if your world has collapsed. You question your worth, your choices, even your reflection in the mirror. Pain consumes you, and yet, hidden within that destruction, something powerful begins to form, something you don't notice right away. Because pain, as cruel as it feels, is not the end. It's the beginning of who you're meant to become. At first, you think you're breaking. You cry quietly at night, replaying every word, every scene, trying to understand why you weren't enough. You compare yourself to the person he chose, wondering what she had that you didn't. It's human to do that, to seek logic in heartbreak, to find reason in betrayal. But pain doesn't come to destroy logic. It comes to burn illusions. It tears down everything false, everything fragile, and forces you to face yourself as you truly are. It demands honesty, it strips away dependency, and it reminds you of your strength, even when you can't feel it yet. Pain teaches you how to survive when love abandons you. It becomes your uninvited mentor, ruthless but necessary. Every tear is a lesson in disguise, every lonely night a test of endurance. And while others see your silence as weakness, they don't understand that silence is where transformation begins. It's in that quiet space, when no one is watching, that you start to rebuild piece by piece. The version of you that once needed validation starts to fade, replaced by someone who finally understands that peace doesn't come from being loved, it comes from learning to love yourself enough to let go. The world doesn't see the nights you talk yourself out of despair, the mornings you force yourself to smile, the moments you stand in front of the mirror and whisper, "I'll be okay." That's the hidden process of transformation, the part no one applauds because no one witnesses it. Pain works in the shadows, shaping you, molding you, turning you into something indestructible. It doesn't make you colder, it makes you clearer. You start recognizing who deserves your time, your energy, your loyalty. You stop begging for attention because you finally realize that the right people don't make you beg. Then one day, without warning, you stop thinking about him. The memories that used to sting start to lose their power. The name that once broke your heart becomes just a word again. And when you finally meet his eyes, whether in person or in your mind, you feel nothing but calm. That's transformation. That's what pain was preparing you for. It wasn't trying to punish you, it was trying to rebuild you. You no longer crave closure because you've already given it to yourself. You no longer seek revenge because you've already outgrown the version of yourself that wanted it. What he mistook for weakness was actually your evolution. He thought leaving you would destroy you, that your world would revolve around his absence. But all he did was give you space to grow into the person you were meant to be without his shadow dimming your light. Pain taught you to stand without support, to breathe without reassurance, to believe without proof. It stripped you down to your essence so you could meet the version of yourself that was never dependent on anyone's love to feel whole. And the irony is that when you finally rise from that pain, when you reclaim your power and rebuild your confidence, that's when the one who left starts to notice. They see what they walked away from. They see the glow they once dimmed now shining brighter than ever. But what they don't realize is that pain didn't just change you, it freed you. It turned you into someone untouchable, someone no apology can undo, someone no regret can reclaim. Pain, in the end, becomes your rebirth. It forces you to step into your own strength, to stop seeking rescue, and to start being your own savior. It transforms heartbreak into wisdom, abandonment into independence, and loss into liberation. You begin to understand that every ending is just an invitation to rise again, stronger, wiser, and more self-aware than before. Pain isn't a punishment, it's the universe's way of showing you what you're capable of surviving, and who you were always meant to be once the illusions fade. And the most beautiful part is that you never needed to prove your worth to the one who left, you just needed to remember it for yourself. Silence after betrayal is the loudest revenge. When someone betrays you, they expect noise. They expect tears, arguments, accusations, chaos. They expect you to fall apart so they can feel powerful, so they can convince themselves that they mattered enough to destroy you. They want to see proof of your pain because it validates their ego. But when you choose silence, when you refuse to give them that satisfaction, it confuses them. It unsettles them. Because silence speaks a language louder than anger, it tells them you no longer care to explain, defend, or prove anything. It tells them your peace has become more important than their presence. In the beginning, silence feels like suffocation. You want to scream, to demand answers, to ask how someone who promised love could so easily betray it. You want to expose them, to make them feel what you feel. But the moment you stop At first, they think your silence is weakness. They assume you're hurting too much to respond, that you're waiting for them to come back. They convince themselves you'll eventually reach out, that your pride will fade before theirs does. But as days turn into weeks, and your silence stretches like an endless horizon, they start to realize something else: you've moved on in a way they can't understand. You've stopped explaining yourself. You've stopped fighting to be understood. You've stopped trying to fix what was never broken in you, but in them. That's when silence transforms from stillness into strength. There's a certain power in saying nothing. It's not that you have nothing to say, it's that you no longer see the point. You begin to understand that no explanation can make a person value what they never appreciated in the first place. You start to see how noise is temporary, but silence lingers. Silence has a way of echoing in the minds of those who hurt you. It reminds them, over and over, that you're no longer reachable, that the door they slammed behind them isn't opening again. It's not indifference, it's evolution. It's the quiet confidence of someone who no longer needs to prove they've won. In silence, you find clarity. You start to see the betrayal for what it truly was: a revelation, not a loss. You realize that the moment they betrayed you, they exposed their own character, not your worth. You stop trying to rewrite the past and start embracing the peace that comes from acceptance. The world doesn't see this transformation happening inside you, they only notice how calm you've become. They don't realize how many battles you've fought in your mind before reaching this stillness. Silence isn't emptiness, it's growth disguised as quiet. And while you remain silent, the betrayer begins to unravel. They start to wonder why you're not chasing them, why you're not defending yourself, why you're not reacting at all. The lack of your attention becomes unbearable. Silence after betrayal doesn't mean you've forgiven too easily or forgotten too soon. It means you've chosen peace over revenge, dignity over drama, self-respect over validation. You realize that not everything broken deserves to be fixed, and not every betrayal deserves a reaction. Some things deserve only distance and quiet. Because in that quiet, you reclaim the energy you once wasted trying to be understood by someone incapable of understanding. Silence becomes your shield. It protects your healing, your rebuilding, your rediscovery. You learn that healing doesn't always look like strength. Sometimes, it looks like retreat. Sometimes it means walking away without explanation, without closure, without turning back. Because closure doesn't come from their apology, it comes from your decision to stop waiting for it. You stop needing their words to move forward because your silence has already said everything you needed to. People underestimate silence. They mistake it for surrender, but in truth, it's control. It's choosing to respond on your own terms, not theirs. It's reclaiming your narrative without speaking a word. And the beauty of silence is that it can't be twisted, misquoted, or manipulated. It stands pure, powerful, and undeniable. When you go quiet, they lose access to your emotions, your reactions, your energy, and that's the loudest revenge of all. Over time, silence turns into strength you can feel in your bones. The more you practice it, the less you crave noise. You stop explaining your worth to those who couldn't see it. You stop justifying your pain to those who caused it. You begin to understand that sometimes the best response is none at all, because not everything broken deserves a voice. Silence doesn't mean you've lost, it means you've finally learned how to win without fighting. Self-worth shines brightest when someone tries to dim it. There are moments in life when people will test the limits of your confidence, when they will make you feel small, unseen, replaceable. They'll compare you, ignore your effort, and make you question whether you were ever enough. It often begins quietly, with a shift in tone, a lack of appreciation, or the subtle withdrawal of love you once thought was unshakable. You start doubting yourself, wondering if maybe you were too much, or perhaps not enough. That's how they start dimming your light, not by taking it away, but by making you believe it wasn't worth shining in the first place. But self-worth is not something that others can grant or remove, it's something that exists deep within you, waiting for the moment you decide to see it again. When someone tries to diminish you, what they're really doing is projecting their own insecurities. They see your strength, your kindness, your authenticity, and it intimidates them. Instead of rising to meet that light, they try to cover it with shadows. They'll make you feel guilty for being confident, call you selfish for setting boundaries, or accuse you of changing just because you've started valuing yourself. They'll twist your compassion into weakness and your silence into submission. But there comes a moment, a quiet, powerful shift, when you realize that their opinion no longer defines your reflection. You begin to understand that their attempt to dim you says more about their own darkness than your brightness. It takes pain to reach that realization. You have to lose people who once validated you to understand that your worth was never meant to be proven. You have to face rejection, betrayal, or abandonment to discover that your value doesn't decrease when someone fails to see it. Self-worth isn't about being chosen, it's about knowing that even if no one chooses you, you still have the power to stand tall. It's about remembering that you are the only constant in your. When someone leaves you for another person, they expect you to crumble. They think your confidence was tied to their presence, that your beauty and value were measured by their love. But that's where they're wrong. When you rebuild yourself after being broken, when you find peace in your solitude, when you start to glow again without their validation, that's when your self-worth begins to shine in its purest form. It's no longer borrowed light, it's yours. It's the kind of strength that can't be faked, the kind of confidence that doesn't need to be announced. It's quiet but undeniable. The world around you begins to notice the difference. You speak less but say more. You no longer chase people, you attract peace. You stop trying to prove your worth to those who underestimated you and instead focus on nurturing it for yourself. The things that once made you feel insecure become your source of pride. You start loving your flaws, honoring your boundaries, and celebrating your growth. Every wound turns into wisdom, every scar into a reminder that you survived something meant to destroy you. That's the beauty of self-worth, it shines even brighter after someone tries to dim it. And while you rise, the ones who once made you doubt yourself start to see what they lost. They see the same strength they once overlooked now glowing unapologetically. They realize too late that you never needed them to shine, you simply forgot your power for a while. That realization haunts them, because self-worth can't be faked or reclaimed once it's gone. They can't manipulate someone who knows their value, and that truth becomes their punishment. Your confidence, your calm, your refusal to be shaken, all of it becomes a mirror reflecting their regret. True self-worth isn't arrogance. It's the quiet knowing that you are enough, even when others fail to see it. It's the strength to walk away from anything that asks you to shrink. It's choosing peace over approval, respect over attention, authenticity. There's something magnetic about a person who knows their worth after being broken. Their presence becomes unbothered, their silence powerful, their energy untouchable. They no longer react to disrespect, because they know it's beneath them. They no longer beg to be understood, because they understand themselves. They stop explaining their choices, because validation no longer fuels them. Their glow is effortless, their confidence unforced, and their peace unshakable. That's the kind of light that not only survives the darkness, it thrives in it. And that's what happens when someone tries to dim you. In their attempt to take away your glow, they end up becoming the reason you learn how to generate it from within. Your self-worth begins to shine not in spite of them, but because of them. Every insult, every rejection, every doubt becomes a spark that fuels your inner flame. You stop fearing the dark because you've realized the light was never around you, it was always inside you. You were never hard to love, they were just incapable of loving someone who didn't need saving. Your light doesn't beg to be seen, it simply exists, radiant and whole. And once you've rediscovered that, no betrayal, no rejection, no silence can take it away. Because your self-worth is not negotiable, not conditional, not dependent on anyone else's recognition. It's the kind of glow that stands tall in storms, that grows stronger through heartbreak, and that becomes unshakable every time someone tries to dim it. Success is the answer to disrespect. When someone disrespects you, their goal is to make you feel small, to make you question your value, to strip away the confidence that threatens their own insecurity. They want a reaction, they want to see you crumble, they want to witness you drown in the pain they caused. But what they never expect is that the very disrespect meant to destroy you will become the motivation that builds you. You don't fight disrespect with anger, you fight it with AC. When someone belittles you, you have two choices, to break or to build. Most people waste their strength explaining themselves, trying to make the disrespectful understand their worth. But the truth is, those who choose to disrespect you already know your value, they're simply intimidated by it. That's why they try to tear it down before it shines too bright. They mock your dreams, they doubt your potential, they dismiss your efforts, not because you can't succeed, but because deep down, they fear you might. And when you stop defending yourself and start focusing on your path, you begin to understand that success is not just a goal, it's a response. A response that doesn't need words, doesn't need revenge, and doesn't need validation. There's a certain kind of strength that comes from being underestimated. You learn to work in silence, to grow without announcing, to rise without seeking permission. Every time someone tells you that you can't, that you're not good enough, or that you'll fail, you quietly turn their words into a fire that fuels you. You start moving differently, thinking sharper, pushing harder. You stop seeking recognition from those who disrespected you because you realize they were never meant to see your vision. Disrespect doesn't break the determined, it awakens them. It sharpens focus, hardens resilience, and breeds an unstoppable will to prove, not to others, but to yourself, that no one decides your worth but you. The most satisfying form of revenge is not confrontation, it's transformation. It's walking past the same people who once doubted you with quiet confidence and undeniable success. It's achieving everything they said you couldn't and doing it without needing to mention their names. Success doesn't argue, it simply appears. It changes the narrative without a single word. The same people who laughed at your struggle start whispering about your strength. The ones who dismissed you start mentioning your name with respect they once refused to. Success doesn't always mean fame or wealth, it means peace, independence, self-respect. It means building a life where no one's disrespect has the power to shake your confidence again. It's about turning every rejection into redirection, every insult into inspiration, every obstacle into opportunity. It's about taking the pain they caused and shaping it into purpose. Because the greatest revenge is not proving them wrong, it's proving yourself right. When you rise from what was meant to bury you, you realize that success is not about showing off, it's about showing up. Showing up for your goals, your growth, your healing. You stop explaining your silence and start embracing your focus. The energy you once wasted on anger becomes fuel for progress. You stop replaying the disrespect in your head because you're too busy building something worth remembering. You stop waiting for apologies because your achievements speak louder than any words they could ever say. And when they see you succeed, truly succeed, it unsettles them. Because disrespect thrives on seeing you broken, but success thrives on your refusal to break. There's something poetic about rising above disrespect. It teaches you patience, discipline, and emotional control. You learn that not every insult deserves a reaction, not every betrayal deserves an explanation. Sometimes the best response is your growth. Sometimes silence paired with success is louder than any argument. And when you finally reach that place, when your peace can't be disturbed, when your confidence can't be shaken, you realize that the people who once disrespected you were never obstacles, they were catalysts. They played a small role in your evolution, and without them, you might not have found your drive. Disrespect doesn't define you, it refines you. It teaches you the difference between those who talk and those who act. It shows you the value of self-belief, the power of persistence, and the strength that comes from choosing yourself. Success is not built on perfection, it's built on pain turned into purpose. Every time someone doubted you, they were unknowingly helping you build your armor. Every time someone laughed at your dreams, they were adding fuel to your fire. Every time someone disrespected your effort, they were reminding you to stop seeking approval and start seeking progress. When success finally arrives, It doesn't come with noise, it comes with peace. It doesn't need announcement, it simply changes everything around you. The people who once disrespected you now see what you've become, and they can't undo it. They can't erase the effort, the patience, the strength it took for you to get there. Because success has a way of turning pain into poetry, betrayal into blessing, and disrespect into destiny. It reminds you that revenge isn't about hurting others, it's about healing yourself so powerfully that no one's opinion has power over you again. Time exposes what emotions once blinded. In the heat of love, trust, or friendship, emotions have a way of blurring reality. You see what you want to see, not what's truly there. You excuse lies, overlook red flags, justify mistreatment, all because your heart refuses to accept the truth your mind already knows. That's what emotions do, they protect the illusion. You convince yourself that loyalty will change someone who doesn't value it, that love will fix what respect has already broken. You build stories in your head to defend their behavior, because facing the truth feels too painful. But time has a way of removing the fog. It strips away the illusion, layer by layer, until all that's left is what you refused to see from the start. When someone betrays you, it's rarely a sudden act. The signs were always there. In the beginning, that realization hurts more than the betrayal itself. You start replaying every memory, every conversation, wondering how you missed it. You question yourself, thinking you were foolish for trusting, naive for believing, weak for forgiving. But you weren't weak, you were human. You gave love where it wasn't deserved, faith where it wasn't earned, and understanding where there was manipulation. That's not weakness, that's purity. Time doesn't expose your mistakes, it exposes the truth about others. And that truth, no matter how harsh, is what sets you free. As days turn into months, your emotions begin to fade. The storm that once consumed your heart begins to quiet. That's when clarity comes, not through anger, but through distance. The person who once seemed irreplaceable becomes just another lesson. The story you thought would last forever becomes just a chapter. You begin to see that they weren't who you thought they were who they showed you to be all along. You just didn't want to believe it. Time doesn't change people, it reveals them. It gives them enough space to drop the act, to show whether their loyalty was genuine or performative. It's strange how perspective changes when emotion no longer controls you. You start to look back at moments where you felt guilty for standing up for yourself and realize you were right all along. You remember how they twisted the truth to make you doubt your instincts, and you see it now for what it was, manipulation. Time makes you see how much of your pain came not from what they did, but from what you allowed yourself to believe about them. It shows you that love without respect is just attachment, and forgiveness without change is just self-betrayal. And while time is revealing their truth, it's also revealing yours. You start recognizing your own strength, the depth of your endurance, the courage it took to heal without closure. You realize you can survive disappointment, heartbreak, and abandon men. You start to understand that everything that fell apart did so for a reason. The lies had to surface, the truth had to unfold, the masks had to fall. Time doesn't work against you, it works for you. It gives you what you need, not what you want. It waits until your emotions calm down so you can finally see things clearly. And when you do, you realize that losing them wasn't your loss, it was your liberation. They didn't destroy your peace, they revealed theirs never existed. People often say that time heals wounds, but it does more than that, it teaches. It teaches patience, discernment, and self-awareness. It teaches you the difference between someone's words and their actions, between promises and consistency, between love and dependency. Time turns confusion into understanding, chaos into lessons, and heartbreak into wisdom. You stop wondering why things happened the way they did, because time has already given you the answer, they had to. The same truth that once broke you becomes the truth that sets you free. And one day, you look back and realize that the person you once missed is no longer someone you recognize. The charm that once blinded you now looks shallow. The excuses that once made sense now sound absurd. You see clearly, without emotions' interference, that you deserved more than what you settled for. That's the power of time. It doesn't just heal the heart, it opens the eyes. It makes you grateful that things ended when they did, because had they not, you would have continued living in illusion. When emotions fade, truth stands tall. You stop romanticizing the past and start appreciating the peace of the present. You stop mourning what was lost and start valuing what was learned. Time exposes everything: fake promises, hidden intentions, disguised motives. It doesn't rush, it doesn't warn, it simply reveals. And when it does, you finally understand that the truth was always there, waiting for you to be strong enough to see it. The greatest revenge is peace. Peace doesn't come easily after betrayal. It's not instant, and it's not simple. It comes after nights of replaying every memory, every lie, every word that cut too deep. It comes after the anger fades, after the tears dry, after you've exhausted every possible reaction. At first, peace feels unnatural, like a surrender. You think that letting go means they've won, that forgiving means you've accepted defeat. But peace isn't about them, it's about you. It's about choosing yourself after being destroyed by someone who didn't know how to value you. It's about understanding that your silence, your stability, and your ability to move on are louder than any revenge could ever be. Regret has a way of finding people. You don't have to force it, life does it for you. The same person who thought they could walk away without consequence eventually faces the weight of their own actions. They see the emptiness of what they chose over you, the hollowness of the life they thought was better. They start to notice the difference between temporary excitement and lasting peace, between attention and genuine love. And while they're caught in their own chaos, you've built a calm within yourself that can't be disturbed. That calm, that peace, becomes the very thing that haunts them. Because regret is loud when it meets silence. The most beautiful kind of revenge is when you stop trying to make them see your worth, because life shows it for you. You begin to heal, to grow, to glow differently. Your peace becomes visible in your presence, your tone, your energy. You no longer flinch at their name, no longer feel the urge to explain your side of the story. You're too focused on living well, on building the life you once thought you'd build with them. They look back expecting bitterness, but find peace instead. And that peace is what unsettles them the most. Because it shows that they didn't just lose you, they lost access to the chaos they used to control. Peace is power disguised as calm. It's walking away without slamming the door. It's smiling without bitterness. It's knowing you could destroy someone with truth but choosing silence instead. It's realizing that you don't need revenge because life already balances itself out. The same way pain once came for you, truth will come for them. It always does. And when it does, you'll be too far gone, too healed, too happy to care. That's the kind of revenge no one sees coming, the one that doesn't require anger, just evolution. It's not about pretending you never cared. It's about realizing that caring no longer hurts. It's about standing in the same world that once broke you and feeling nothing but peace. You stop needing closure because you've created it. You stop needing an apology because their regret is enough. You stop watching for karma because peace has already given you everything you need. The life you're building becomes proof that you didn't need to fight back to win. You just had to let go, to allow your calm to speak in ways your anger never could. Peace doesn't erase the past, it redefines it. You start to see that every wound taught you something about yourself. You learn that not every loss is meant to be replaced, some are meant to be released. You realize that you can miss someone and still be glad they're gone. You understand that love doesn't always mean holding on, sometimes it means stepping away to protect your sanity. That's when peace truly begins to take root. It's no longer fragile, it's firm, steady, unshakable. And when peace lives inside you, no one's regret can disturb it. People often confuse peace with indifference, but they're not the same. Indifference is cold and empty, peace is warm and grounded. Indifference says, I don't care anymore. Peace says, I care, but it no longer hurts. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to be loud, the kind of healing that doesn't need to be proven. It's walking through the same fire that once burned you, this time untouched by the flames. It's smiling at the memory of your pain because you know it no longer defines you. That smile, that quiet composure, becomes the ultimate revenge, because nothing terrifies those who hurt you more than seeing you unbothered by their memory. You learn that revenge fueled by anger fades quickly, but peace lasts forever. Anger burns fast and leaves ashes, peace builds slowly and leaves strength. When you choose peace, you're no longer chained to what they did, you're free. You're no longer defined by what happened, you're defined by how you rose from it. You no longer carry the weight of proving anything to anyone. Your life becomes your response. Your happiness becomes your weapon. Your peace becomes your armor. And when their regret finally catches up to them, they realize that they can't reach you anymore. You've outgrown the battlefield. You've won without fighting.